afternoon and welcome to our end of the month meeting. And we have a few people in the audience tonight, and hopefully we have a few more watching us on our YouTube video, YouTube station. Invocation tonight will be led by myself, and respects to the flags will be led by Councilman Kyle Newton. Please rise. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon our community. We thank you for this council, this policy-making councils, as they do the work of the people and things that we believe in and that you've taught us. We ask that you protect our law enforcement, our fire departments, and those in our organization that face outward toward our community. Keep them safe and away from harm. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get into our meeting, we have a couple of recognitions from our police department. I'm going to ask Chief Stewart to come down and lead us in this part of our program. Chief.
Again, thank you, Mayor. We most recently had captain's promotions, so those lieutenants were promoted to captain, so we had 3 sergeants promoted to lieutenant. I'd like to recognize them tonight. Lieutenant Jonathan Dickerson, come down. Lieutenant Dickerson began his career in public safety as a fireman with the Piercetown Fire Department in 2005. Dickerson was employed by the APD in 2014. Dickerson was promoted to patrol sergeant in 2019 and has received Officer of the Month twice and Police Officer of the Year. Lieutenant Dickerson will serve as patrol lieutenant on the Alpha shift. And Lieutenant Dickerson, would you like to recognize? You have anybody here tonight?
Yes, I have my daughter, my son, and my wife came.
Thank you. Lieutenant Randall Heumann. Lieutenant Heumann began his law enforcement career with the City of Anderson in 2000. He has served in patrol and traffic and also the strike team and traffic safety grant positions. Heumann worked for the Highway Patrol from 2010 to 18 and returned to the city in October of 18 as Internal Affairs Coordinator. Lieutenant Heumann will serve as the Administrative Lieutenant and our Internal Affairs Inspector. Lieutenant, I think you have some people here.
My wife.
Thank you for being here. And lastly, Lieutenant Justin Richie, if you will come down and join me. Lieutenant Richie began his career with the Belton Police Department in 2000 and was later employed by the Anderson County Sheriff's Office in 2005. Richie was employed with the City of Anderson in 2017. He has served as a patrol officer, a detective, and a crime scene investigator. Richie was promoted in 2019 in the patrol division and later transferred to the forensic sergeant position. Richie will serve as lieutenant in CID, our criminal investigative division. Okay, gentlemen, we'll take your statutory oath for office. If you'll raise your right hand, repeat after me. I.
Jonathan Dickerson. Justin.
As a lieutenant of the City of Anderson.
As a lieutenant of the City of Anderson.
Will equally, fairly, and impartially. To the best of ability and skill. Exercise the trust reposed in me. And will use my best endeavors. To preserve the peace. To carry into effect. According to law. The purpose for which I've been elected. So help me God. Congratulations. Thanks, sir. Thank you.
The minutes of our July 25th meeting were distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Not hearing any, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Dr. Thompson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lockridge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes pass unanimously. I have a couple items of old business, and the first item is request second reading of ordinance 2211 authorizing the lease to real property generally known as Anderson Memorial Stadium. Mr. McEwen.
Mayor and Council, Anderson University desires to lease the property on a long-term basis. This is our baseball stadium that the city previously used. However, Anderson University has been using it since 1983. It was time again to look at and review and renew the lease that we have with Anderson University. And City Attorney Frankie McLean worked on this. You want to go over some of the terms of that?
The main terms of it, in the past, we have shared the expenses, and we've been paying utilities and things like that, but the city had used it some, but we've stopped using it, and Anderson uses it exclusively now for their baseball team. And they've agreed to take over all the costs of it, which would be a benefit to us. And they indicate that they're going to make improvements to it and use it for a good while. So this is we think, a good idea to lease it to them on a long-term lease. If it comes back to us, really, the property itself we don't really need right now for any purpose. So this is our recommendation that we lease it to them. This is a 30-year lease, could be renewable. If they do build a new stadium and come back, they can take what they put in it there. We can put in a provision that we could negotiate if we want to keep some of the items. So anyway, it's our recommendation that we lease it to, and they've agreed to the terms of this, and they will take care of all expenses and maintenance of the stadium. So.
Thank you, sir. Any comments, questions?
Mayor, I'll just make a quick comment. I think we've discussed this topic now a few times, and I think we all believe that Anderson University has been a good partner in this situation, and they continue to improve the asset, and based on the terms and the items that have been discussed, I'll just move forward and make a motion that we accept this proposal.
First by Mr. Martinez. Second by Mr. Newton. Any further discussions, comments? I agree with Mr. Martinez. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously on the second and final reading. Our last item of new business is request consideration of an ordinance to rezone 9.31 acres at the corner of East River Street and Clark Lane from NC Neighborhood Commercial to PDD, a Planned Development District. Mr. McEwen.
The City Council previously referred this item to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission met on August the 2nd, and they recommended approval of this request with provision of some language. And Maurice McKenzie, our Planning Development Director, will go over that along with the details that's presented here for second reading.
Great, thank you.
First reading.
Yeah, first reading. Thank you. This is in regards to the corner of Clark Lane, East River Street. It's 9.31 acres. It's currently zoned NC Neighborhood Commercial, and the applicant's requesting to rezone the property to PDD, Planned Development District, and the plan is to construct 89 townhouse units on the site. Now, with the current zoning of NC Neighborhood Commercial, the applicant can construct townhouse units and apartments on the property, but they are requesting the PDD zoning in order to have more development flexibility with their proposal. And quite honestly, with the PDD, it affords us the opportunity to have more development detail in the document. So if done properly, it can be a win-win for both parties, the city and the applicant. The current zoning allows 8 townhouse units per acre. As I mentioned, they're requesting 89 units, but the 8 units per acre equates to 74 units. So they're asking for a few more than what would be allowed under current zoning for townhouse units. Now, if they were to construct apartments, they could build 10 units per acre. So as you can see, what they're requesting is generally in keeping with what the density would be under current NC zoning standards. One of the main reasons why they're requesting the PDD to have something a little different than what our conventional zoning allows is in regards to the lot size for townhouse units. In our guidelines, it says the minimum lot size for townhouse units is 5,000 square feet. They're requesting a minimum lot size of 1,600 square feet. And as you know, we've seen several townhouse developments come our way over the past several months. Every one of them have requested lot sizes around that 2,000 square foot in size. So one thing we're going to do as we're working to revise our development standards, our zoning ordinance, is to look at that 5,000 square feet. It may or may not be in keeping with what we need to see by today's standards. One positive about having the smaller lots is that it allows more open space, which will be better preserved and more common areas that can be used by everyone. So that helps in that regard. Per the PDD document, as you can see in the document, there's a lot of detail, but regarding the setbacks, it's a 25-foot perimeter setback along the exterior property line, 15-foot front yard building setback, 10 feet secondary front yard setback, and that's regarding corner lots, 10 feet side yard setback for end units, and a 10-foot rear yard setback. I was mentioning open space a moment ago. This site will have 3.73 acres of open space and common area, which equates to about 40% of the site. Right now, our PDD standards require only 10% open space, so that far exceeds what we currently require. The street network in the development is intended to remain private. Now, if the lots are to be sold individually, which I believe they will be, the streets, even though they're private, must be built to public street standards. And because of the street layout, the hammerhead layout, as you can see on the conceptual drawing, all garbage pickup must be handled commercially, will not be the responsibility of the city of Anderson. As the city manager mentioned, this did go before Planning Commission earlier this month. They did recommend approval with the provision that the applicants were to enhance the language regarding or trying to prevent on-street parking. So the applicant went in and added language requiring 2 off-street parking spaces per lot and not allowing vehicles to overhang streets and sidewalks. And also they added a couple of overflow parking lots in the development, and that's on the conceptual plan. Those are bits of language that you've requested in other documents and other developments like this, so they added that into the language. And they also did take it a step further, something that you've been wanting to see in other development plans is to require open spaces across from T intersections. They also added that language since the Planning Commission heard this earlier this month. So with those changes, this comes to you with a recommendation of approval. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have. Also, the applicant is in attendance if you have any questions for him.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, Ms. McKenzie? Mr. Roberts?
Comments, and I'm going to echo a few things that Mr. McKenzie mentioned, but all of our newer developments are moving in the direction of the design elements that we're encouraging, and many of these are already built into it, so there's really not a lot to massage in this, but I want to reiterate a couple of things. Although they are smaller lots, it serves a larger purpose for the common open space. And when you can achieve 40% open space on a development like this, I think you're well above what I would even expect. I'm comfortable somewhere between 20 and 30%, so we've achieved 40. It is a heavily wooded lot. I rode out there earlier, and the tree ordinance will apply. I'm curious to see what that may do to it. The density does lie somewhere between 8 and 10 units per acre. And so that's well within whether we're at townhomes or apartments. And just a further comment on density. Density does not bother me as long as it's done correctly. And I like the way the layout. Several things to consider as well. Maybe or maybe not mentioned, but traffic calming. Because you have curvature in the roads and these hammerheads, as they're called, has the effect of calming traffic. The overflow parking, a very good feature that some developments don't have. You can think of events such as maybe a birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when you have visitors coming in. So the overflow parking, a very good feature. The connectivity, not mentioned, but sidewalks throughout, connecting throughout the neighborhood, and even to the, it was formerly a bank. I think, is that some sort of senior center or a proposed activities building, or?
From what I understand, it's a center for adults that...
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
Wesley White. We're actually really excited about that. The lady that Mary Fields had bought that property, the name of the group is called Westers, I think it is, but she has a special needs adult daughter, and she said the area is extremely lacking in places for adults with special needs to go for activities. And so you've seen where I kind of put the queue in the little area over there. That's part of that 40% open space that she said she just needed an area for them to go to activities. So yes, she's renovating that bank, and we kind of said, hey, yeah, we'll let you use that front area as kind of a common area, joint common area. So yeah, we're actually really excited about what she's doing there as well.
Absolutely, great feature for the neighborhood, for the general area. So a lot of these things, we've already been moving in this direction, and they're just automatically being built in. So I appreciate what the designer has done, and I would like to hear your comments before I move that we...
Any other comments? Good comments? None? I mean, we've been coming at this pretty heavy for a couple of years now, and appreciate all the work's been done. Like Jeff said, a lot of it is being built into these PDDs, and which is a good thing. It's not a whole lot to discuss, and we'll massage this as we go forward, the process. So,
Mayor, I move that we recommend this to be rezoned from neighborhood commercial to PDD.
I'll take that as a first. Mr. Roberts, Jeff Roberts, says
Second.
Mr. Lockhart, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously on the first reading. I'd also like to publicly thank our planning commission. They've done a yeoman's job the last couple of years. We have 7 items of new business, and the first item is request consideration to purchase equipment for the Public Works Division. Ms. McEwen?
Okay, as budgeted, we have capital equipment, what I call rolling capital equipment, budgeted into here. Both come out of the capital fund budget, stormwater budget. Kim Olenatz is here with his team to present their equipment requests.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight, Public Works is requesting approval to purchase equipment for the cemetery, sanitation, and the stormwater departments. In your packets, you should have a detailed listing of each of these pieces of equipment. I'll briefly go over each of these items and then answer any questions that you might have about them. The cemetery department's requesting approval to purchase a Kubota L47 TLB tractor loader backhoe with a 4-in-1 bucket. This unit will be used in the cemetery department for preparing graves, moving monuments, and maintaining the grounds. This unit will replace a 2008 John Deere that will be used as a backup and will be used until it's no longer cost efficient to maintain it. In other words, if we have a major repair to that, chances are we'll sell that on gov deals. The funding for this will come from the 2022-2023 capital equipment budget. This item is available on Sourcewell contract from Oakway Tractor in Seneca, South Carolina, in the amount of $59,091.38. The second item is the sanitation department's requested approval to purchase a Volvo L30G compact wheel loader with a 4-in-1 bucket. This equipment will be added to the sanitation fleet and be used for daily trash and debris pickup. This is the equipment that you see out there on a daily basis, picking up the limbs and the
those roadside items that are out there. The funding from this will also come from the 2022-2023 capital equipment budget. Staff's recommending that we buy this on Sourcewell contract from Ascendum Machinery in Piedmont in the amount of $93,254. And then the third item is a John Deere 5115M utility tractor with a 22-foot side mower boom. The Stormwater Department is requesting approval to purchase this unit. This will be used daily to maintain the right-of-ways, the park flumes, and other city-owned properties. This will replace a 1998 New Holland TS100 with approximately 8,000 miles on it. Staff's recommendation, the funding for this will come from the stormwater budget, and this is on a state contract with AgPro out of Williamston, South Carolina, in the amount of $159,146.08. And so that brings our total purchases for the capital fund of $152,845.38, and then the stormwater budget of $159,146.08 for a total of $311,991.46.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
Couple questions, Mayor.
Mr. John Roberts, go right ahead.
Item number 2, the Volvo wheel loader. Is that similar to the one that is out now, the new one that
It's
you see on the streets that kind of...
That's a New Holland that we're using here. This is
Same design.
Compact wheel loader, yes, sir.
That has to be so much more efficient
Yes, sir.
than the old tractors.
Right, yes, sir.
They
This
seem to really-
this is more
some of the
of a-
attachments for it that I've seen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wonderful. And then the third one. I know we had a couple of calls last year regarding some right-of-way not being maintained on schedule, et cetera. It's probably this piece of equipment.
It is. We actually lost 2 pieces of equipment within 2 weeks of one another.
Yeah.
One went out with the one that we're replacing went out with a transmission, and just talked to our fleet staff and didn't think it was cost efficient to maintain that. And then at its age, to put that kind of money into that. And then we actually had a rebuilt engine, a remanufactured engine, put it in our 2016. It is in very good shape, and the boom on it's in good shape as well. So we felt like it was in good shape and felt like we'd repair it. But that old, the 98, we felt like we needed to get rid of that.
Well, Mayor, that being said, of course, we'll leave it open to other comment as well, but anything we can do to help these guys out, keep our city rolling, make a motion to approve.
First by John Roberts. Second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any additional comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Our next item is request consideration of construction contract for the Silverbrook Cemetery entrance. Mr. McEwen.
All right, this is a unique project at Silverbrook Cemetery, and Ken's going to stay up there and go over this project with you, and Andrew might chime in a little bit as well. So, Ken?
Okay. So we're requesting approval to award a construction contract to repair the main entrance at the Silverbrook Cemetery on White Street. You should have in your backup information a few pictures of the condition of the building. It's actually a pretty poor condition there. It's a beautiful piece, historical piece in the front of that cemetery, and staff really wanted to put that back to its original look there. So we sought contractors that would have the ability to use like materials or materials that would actually even be better in today's with today's standards. They could put it back and make it look new again. We did get some quotes from contractors. We got Premier Construction out of Belton, South Carolina, had a quote of $51,850. J.M. Coke Construction out of Greenville, South Carolina, had a proposal for $87,415, and then we had, in this climate, it's hard people are really busy, and we had a couple non-responses, and then we had some that just said they're just too busy. They looked at it and said they're just too busy to take on the new work there. So the funding for this project would be from private donations and the city's general fund. And with that, staff is making a recommendation that we award this contract to Premier Construction out of Belton, South Carolina, in the amount of $51,850. Did speak to them, and they would be available to start on that as early as next week. They will have to order some materials for that. I'll be glad to go over the details of the project, but basically what's going to happen is from the columns up will be replaced. So those, you've got tongue and groove board there, you've got the roof, the trusses that are going to need to be replaced because of the condition of this, and we'll go back to the slate roof on top of it as well to kind of give it a more of that historical look to it that it has now. The staff is recommending that we award this contract to Premier Construction out of Belton.
Good.
Real quick, Mayor, can I add a couple things?
Go ahead.
You said slate roof. I want to clarify, because we have a slate roof on the chapel there, right next to it. This is a synthetic slate roof. I don't think there's anything in that post and beam construction that would support a real slate roof. So and you can't really see it anyway. Ken mentioned a couple private donations, and we are actually going to receive around $20,000 in private donations that have been committed to this project. That's actually why this project is coming up now, because we had some local interest, local passion for Silverbrook Cemetery that saw this entrance gateway deteriorating, and they wanted to see it replaced and improved, and so they're putting their money where their mouth is, and we got to strike while the iron's hot right now. So
That donation comes through the foundation?
One was a private donation, and then I think two others will come through the Foothills Community
Foothills
Foundation.
Community. Good. Any other questions, comments?
Are we going to be able to save that signage there at Silverbrook Cemetery?
Yes, sir. I actually spoke with the contractor about that, and he's going to replace the boarding, the boxing. Those are two steel I-beams through there. He's going to be able to replace that, but he wants to cut that particular piece out with the signage and all on that, as he wants to add that back to the new wood.
Okay.
That was his comments.
Will it impact I guess that's the only way to get in and out?
There is a rear entrance to that
Okay.
location, so folks will be able to come in from over on Shopping Ferry. Yes, sir. Good question.
Good.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I know that pretty much your description was from the columns up, but would we take this opportunity, to spruce it up a little bit, since we are going to be taking the roof off of it, like pressure wash it, any other routine? I don't know if the wrought iron needs to be painted or...
Yeah, we painted had the fencing and the wrought iron, all that was painted last year.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It was a white color, and we ended up having that painted all black, and it really looks good out there. The fencing does where the wrought iron is. But all of the construction on this, from the top up, new paint, obviously they're going to paint it and put it back, and they're going to try to match the original condition of it as closely as possible. And I think they'll be able to achieve that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'd like to move that we adopt the changes.
First by Ms. Lockridge. Second by Dr. Thompson. Any further questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Ms. Mullinax. Our third item is request consideration of a construction contract with CP Builders Incorporated for the Hammett Acres Pipe Replacement Project. Mr. McEwen.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This project actually is going to be funded by the American Rescue Plan Act. The funds that we received and allocated towards stormwater, much needed as we continue just to run across major impacts to our system that are being discovered from old corrugated metal pipe that was installed. We have city engineer Lucretia here and stormwater manager Adam Cromer here as well to discuss the project with you, and they actually designed it in-house, which I'm proud they were able to do and not outsource out, and so with that, they'll go over the details with you.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Mayor and council, we are bringing a request for a construction contract for the stormwater pipe replacement between Hammett Acres Road and the pond behind 121 Hammett Acres. The project consists of replacing approximately 600 feet of failing corrugated metal pipe. About half of it is 36 inches and the other half is 48 inches in diameter. The system in general runs from Concord Road to this pond, and it was installed by the city in the early 1980s. Several large sinkholes have developed on the property of 121 Hammett Acres, and the city has easement across that property, but it's a private residence. So we requested bids for both reinforced concrete pipe and for HDPE pipe, and we are recommending going with the HDPE pipe at this time. The project was bid out on July 18th. A pre-bid meeting was held on site on July 26th, and we had 4 companies attend the pre-bid meeting, and we received bids on August 8th from 3 of those companies, which you have listed in your packet. We took the bids we received and the contractor's previous work with the city into consideration. Moving forward, this project will provide increased stability and long-term operation of our drainage system. As Mr. McEwen said, the funding from this project will be from the American Rescue Plan, and it was listed on the list of projects we went over with you all when that came about. So we are requesting the approval of a construction contract with CP Builders in the amount not to exceed $225,150.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments? We did go over this when we were looking at projects from the American Rescue dollars, so
Mayor, a few months ago, or I guess about half a year ago now, I had the opportunity to sit in a meeting with Ken, Adam, and Lucretia and learn more about water in that meeting than I ever thought I would learn, so I definitely appreciate that. And beyond that, this does reside in the area that I serve, so I'd like to make the motion to approve the construction contract with CP Builders.
First by Mr. Newton.
Second.
Second by Mr. John Roberts. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passed unanimously.
And I just want to thank our staff again for designing this in-house and moving these projects ahead. We have a lot more coming ahead. We'll be coming in front of you as we go through the fall and into the spring.
Good, thank you. Thank you, guys. Our next item is requesting an ordinance amending the 2021-22 annual budget. Mr. McEwen.
Okay, this is something we do each year. Is to true up the approvals by city council and or the city manager if it was within my purchasing authority throughout the year with our budget. So it's a budget amendment. So essentially, instead of coming through and doing a two-reading budget amendment every single time we're able to use funds in a different way or receive a grant. You'll see a lot of this is from grant money or extra money that we didn't actually budget. You can see some jail revenue there as well. And so we're able to true this up, and this helps our, when you look at actual to the audited version of our budget as well, through that process, and we're currently under audit for our routine audit from the previous fiscal year. And with that, Ms. Martin, our Chief Financial Officer, will go over the information for you.
Okay, is this on? Hello? Oh, there it is. Okay. So we are requesting approval on first reading of an ordinance to amend the 21-22 annual budget, increasing general fund by $3,996,707 and the transit fund budget by $848,647. As Mr. McEwen said, these allow the budget and audit to more accurately reflect actual revenues received and expenditures made that were unknown when the budget was originally adopted. Therefore, the comparisons between budget and actual are more meaningful. So the detailed ordinance is attached, but I do want to kind of go over a little summary of those items. So we are increasing the police fund budget for 2 grants, a body armor grant and a COVID expenses, $113,905. The police department was able to purchase 125 body cameras with those grants. We are increasing the general fund budget for the use of the American Rescue Funds for the premium pay of $2,258,990. We have received the $14,507, but revenues can only be recorded when funds are spent. We are increasing the transit fund budget to reflect capital grants from the FTA for the purchase of 2 buses ordered in a previous year, received and paid for this year. We are using budget amendments to reflect the use of the general fund's prior year fund balance for purchases of projects that were approved in prior years but not paid until this year. Our final payment for the hotel EDI, $375,000, and the general fund portion of the parking construction of $677,000. We are increasing the Brownfield Grant Award, $100,878. It was a 3-year grant, $300,000, and so we do a budget amendment each year for the amount we spent. We do have $97,000 left in that grant. This budget amendment also reflects the use of the general fund's prior year paytail funds for monies received in 21 but spent in 22 of $70,000. Uses for these funds include purchase of undercover vehicles, tasers for detention officers, and upfitting the SWAT truck. We are increasing the fire department's rescue fund to account for Anderson County Emergency Management Division's revenues received last year but spent in the 22 year of $25,000 for the purchase of pro underwater technical rescue equipment. We also are reflecting a prior year of commissary monies received but spent this year of $97,000 in detention. Various uses included replacing toilet sinks on the city side of the detention, ceiling tiles in the holding cells, and shower replacement in detention. We are increasing confiscated funds for the purchase of equipment of $17,312. This budget also reflects City Council approval for the land purchase at McCants and South Fayette for $150,000, and for the soiree of additional revenue and expenditures of $110,271. So we are recommending approval on first reading.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Any questions, clarifications?
I move that we adopt the changes in the budget.
I have a first by Ms. Lockhart, a second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan.
Our next item is request consideration of an ordinance authorizing the execution of a contract and a deed to convey real estate property located at 118 East Earl Street. Mr. McEwen.
Before I turn it over to City Attorney Frank McLean that put this together for you, this sale, I want to explain a little bit about it. We purchased this piece of property when it came up for sale, mainly to preserve the parking spaces behind it for Carolina Wren Park. This backs up to Carolina Wren Park and what we know as the Belt parking lot. And so that was our primary reason for purchasing it. And then if we're able to, from an economic development perspective, recruit a tenant for it, that's certainly what we want to do. We do have a retail tenant that plans to go into the space, upfit the building. And so we have a planned sale, and it is deemed surplus property. to the proposed tenant. So with that, Mr. McLean, go over some of the other details as far as contract.
Mr. McClung, before you get started, Mayor, if I could, I'd like, there was potential conflict of interest here, so then I'm going to go ahead and recuse myself. If that's okay.
Let the record show that Mr. Martinez has recused himself from this discussion. Go ahead, Judge.
As Mr. McEwen said, this is the rock building that has behind it 12 parking spaces, which we wanted to maintain. And the Economic Development Department did put this out for proposals after you had declared it to be surplus property, and received a proposal from the person that we drafted the contract to set it then for the amount of $90,000. Intention is for it to be a butcher shop. We feel that based upon that and us being able to keep the parking spaces, this would be a fair price for it. And the building is not in good shape. If we did keep it, it would require a whole lot of work. And the buyer is understanding that it is as is, and that he will need to fix it up. So
Thank you.
It's our recommendation that we sell it to him.
So the recommendation is to sell it for the $90,000. Any discussion, any comments?
Mayor?
Ms. Harden?
I mean, I think it's a great building outside, the architecture of it, and how they're going to try to, keep that as much as possible. And when we did acquire it, the cost associated with those parking places is very expensive. And so I think this is a perfect way to put this building back into the public sector, and what's planned on being there, I think will be a huge asset to downtown and to the residents of the downtown. So with that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Second.
First by the Mayor Pro Tem, a second by Mr. John Roberts. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously on the first reading. Item number 6 is to request consideration of a resolution regarding an easement agreement at 500 North Main Street. Ms. McEwen?
I'll turn it over to Assistant Mayor Andrew Strickland for this item.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen, Mayor, Council. What you have before you is a request for an easement agreement for 500 North Main Street. If you'll recall, fall of 2020, City Council approved an incentive agreement with Main Street Partners for redevelopment of the block of North Main, formerly housing the Bobby Johnson Grocery and the Den. That proposed redevelopment would bring what's now Magnetic South Brewery, as well as a multi-tenant mixed-use commercial building to the downtown Anderson Gateway. Included in that incentive was an investment by the city to extend the Main Street streetscape up to Calhoun Street and to construct a pedestrian plaza and green in the heart of that redevelopment area. North Main Commons, as it's known now, was designed to originally allow vehicle traffic to enter and exit the parking area behind the former Den, which is now A&P Plaza. The configuration was never ideal in that it kind of introduced a conflict between pedestrians and vehicles that we just weren't terribly comfortable with, but always just had to do because that was the only way to get back to the property. The proposed easement agreement that you have in front of you would allow us to reduce that vehicle traffic across the plaza by creating kind of a one-way loop, for lack of a better description, beginning with vehicles entering adjacent to the Apple Dumpling Antiques, accessing the parking area behind, and then exiting across the plaza to Main Street. Now, the city would participate in signage to make sure that this was well signed, that it was one way. Vehicle traffic should only be either vendors for Apple Dumpling Antiques or tenants of the A&P Plaza development. So there will be no public access parking behind these areas, no public vehicles going behind, circling, looking for parking. So we are confident this will help reduce what could be a dangerous pedestrian vehicle conflict. So staff does recommend approval of this easement agreement.
Thank you, sir. Questions, comments?
Quick question. The parking areas behind, I guess, the, not the A&P building, but
Formerly the den.
formerly the Dan, correct? That's still private property, correct?
It's private property.
So they'll be responsible for applying for the, to control parking measures. They'll be responsible to apply for the new towing ordinance, et
correct,
cetera.
yes.
That will fall on the city's
That's right.
responsibility,
That's right.
as well as behind Apple
That's
Dumplings.
right. That's right.
Good.
Yeah, no, our signage would only be for, to delineate that their parking only, and then
I just
directional.
want to make sure we're not responsible for
That's right.
watching every parking.
Good
area.
question. Mr. Martinez?
You know, I just want to echo the fact that this would give us an opportunity to reduce the traffic by doing that, and echo the fact that the only cars that should be traveling back there are either employees or owners of this space. As a father of young children, and just being in North Commons over the weekend, there are a lot of children that are playing in that green space there. So as parents, we need to be hyper aware of our children playing, but when they're tossing frisbees and things like that, they are kind of running into an area where cars could be traveling. So, you know, with the full understanding that, again, this is going to help actually be safer than what we currently have, you know, I think this is a potential solution for the short term.
Good points. Anything else?
You looking for a motion, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion.
Have a first one, Mr. John Roberts.
Second.
Second by the Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Our last item of new business is request consideration of an ordinance authorizing the lease of a portion of the East City Street parking garage to Anderson Rooftop LLC. Mr. McEwen?
Mr. Strickland will cover this item for us.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Mayor, Council, like you said, Mr. Mayor, before you have proposed lease of a portion of our East Market Street parking garage. In addition to the 300 parking spaces in the garage, East Market Street parking garage is home to over 6,000 square foot rooftop space that our council originally intended to house a rooftop restaurant, something downtown Anderson needed at the time and still needs. Anderson Rooftop LLC is proposing to operate that full-service restaurant and bar in the space. The business will be a regional draw for downtown Anderson due to its success in other communities in South Carolina and Georgia. They do have rooftop restaurants in Alpharetta and Greenville currently. The tenant has received local, regional, and national recognition in the hospitality industry for its exceptional visitor experience, menu, and specialized niche as a rooftop restaurant. Honestly, we couldn't ask for a better tenant, proposed tenant for this space. This will really activate a portion of downtown Anderson. It's currently just ready and waiting for some activity. So with the Home 2 Suites that's currently there, in addition to this rooftop space, South Main is quickly becoming just a really great destination. We project the tenant will generate approximately $250,000 in its first 5 years of operation just from annual hospitality tax and business license fees alone. The business will also create 60 job opportunities for local service industry professionals. You discussed details during a work session prior to the meeting. Again, this is a 10-year lease in front of you with 4 5-year renewal options. So again, that's a 30-year lease potentially in front of you. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. We also have our city's outside counsel with us, Mike Burns with Burr Foreman. He and his colleagues helped negotiate this lease for us. It's a very well-crafted document, and we're looking forward to executing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland. Comments, questions? We did talk a lot in work session about it. I think the renderings, I don't think will do it justice upon the completion. I guess what's the time frame in regards to construction?
They are chomping at the bit to get started. They are hoping and praying really hard that they can get open by Christmas, at least 1st of December, so they're ready to go.
Ms. Lockhart?
When I first heard about this, I was really excited, and the more it's gone along, I've gotten more excited. I think this is a great thing for Anderson. I think this is a wonderful thing for the community, a wonderful thing for the people of Anderson to sort of get a bird's eye view of what Anderson's really like. So I move that we adopt this lease with the Anderson Rooftop LLC.
First by Mr. Lockhart. Second by Mr. Martinez. Any further discussion?
I have something to say.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank, first of all, Andrew and David and Frankie and all the people that had anything to do with, and our attorney, any people that had anything to do with this. There's been a lot of hard work and effort put in by these folks to get this into Anderson. If you're on the streets and just happen to see them on the streets, thank them yourselves, because this is a good thing for Anderson. It's a good thing for the community. I just can't say enough how excited I am about it, and I can't wait to go and eat there. So it's going to be a great thing for everybody. So I can't express the feelings of joy that I've got about this thing. So it's a good thing for everybody.
That's exciting.
I agree. I'm going to stay with one of your words, bird's eye view. The view's great. And Andrew said that it's just to think about South Main Street, not North Main Street, and how the council's intent is to lengthen our downtown area, both length and width. And so I'm looking forward to the future in that regard also.
Excited.
I was there for the opening session, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Looking out over the city, when I've been to Greenville, in their top place, they can see the mountains, but we can see the mountains here too.
And one more thing, if I'm correct, I'm 99% certain I am, we also have one of our, beloved Andersonians that kind of made the referral and put all this together. So someone just so proud of Anderson that kind of put all this together, and the guys definitely work on it, without a doubt.
Well, good. First and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously on the first reading. We had an executive session, but I don't think we'll need it. And so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Mr. Newton.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lockhart. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
What's the next meeting?